Nebora Jawa, Zobe Janja, Rambora Jeba, Midemba, Mijan, Dua, Dala, Deba, Demba, Yawa, Yuwa, Jawa, Deba, Yindu, Libra Jaba, Remba Jaba, Jamba Jamba, Tumbara Jaba, Tama Jave, Oza, Cha Jave, Oza Jawa, Sonam Je, Parji, Yin Yung Se, Jawa, Jimba, Jimbe, Nes, Kirba, Kunda, Jimbe Nezen Juwa Jimbo Zhangza Wadan Jeje Shabadan Chezaye Buye Zawaye Gewa Zhungze Dake Jeza Tamje Zobe Changze Jimo Zaje Baje Chungze Mendo Dara Leye Nyende Nyemba Sanje Shinda Medem Buwayen Druga Namda Yen Choba Zhu Zemje Namye Zambanda Loye Jeda Jeda Chechon Dongman Dimba Yen Cheyen Hala Korado
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So good evening, everyone, and hello to all the viewers. Hope you've had some time to reflect and read on the 8th chapter of the Bodhicaryavatara. Some of you may have powered through all the way the 8th chapter. Some of you may be having some communication gap, one could say, because of culture and mentality. And but nevertheless, the benefit I think comes from, I cannot stress this enough, the benefit comes from just reading, yes, over and over again. Similarly, with our practice, if we practice continuously, whether we really understand it or not, just the repetition itself has great value. Yes. On one hand, through the repetition, then we create some form of habit, and on the other hand, well, I suppose habit is it is actually, yes. And then, well, it's strange to say when the time comes, but should the situation come together, then it's like saying muscle memory or some sort comes through, and you have the words, the saying, the logic, or the analogy, everything is sort of, or it's almost there at the tip of your tongue. And instead of having to carry a physical book, with you, which could be lost or misplaced or something, instead it's there, in your memory. And then all of a sudden, should one be in a particular circumstance, or should one feel that, okay, this is an interesting situation, then that sort of like saying muscle memory, it comes back, and then you can put something together. Maybe you could be saying something very intelligent. So, yes, it's for that reason that you would, or you may have seen, particularly in the monasteries, either, I don't know, around the Himalayas, where there are such circumstances still, which will diminish in time, where you will see, small ones and even elderly, they are trying to memorize the root text of all sorts. Yeah. And it's probably safe to say that they may not really understand what they are memorizing, But nevertheless, there is that benefit of memorizing those root text, or something like sadhana or any kind. They will serve all of you well in various circumstances. Yeah. So, even though we may have various different types of translations, many different versions, either in English or in other languages, it may not encompass or capture all the meaning. Nevertheless, it's good enough for now. Yes. I really don't know if there will be a time where we'll be able to use certain or universal languages to capture the meaning of Buddha Dharma, like how it was done in the case of Tibetan language. Most likely such conditions are difficult to appear. Although great efforts are being made, nevertheless, it's very, very difficult. Yes. So, yes, reading. Yes, it's good. It's a good pastime. It's a good way to pass your time, because it's thoughtful, meaningful, and yes. So then, coming back to the main root, we are in the 8th chapter of the Bodhicaryavatara, the chapter of, I think commonly known in English as meditation, or there were other terms I remember in the book, meditative concentration, perfection of meditation, and so on. Basically, jhana, or dhyana, or I think one of them is Sanskrit, one of them is Pali, I think. So, in Tibetan, known as Samten. And the trouble comes from understanding it, or one of the ways, or one of the troubles that can come from understanding this chapter. I think I said a little bit yesterday, which I said in the figure of speech in the form of boxing, putting things in certain boxes. It's supposed to be user-friendly, but nevertheless, it can create sometimes confusions here and there, because it's like trying to capture the mind. Where is the mind? Which is very much part of the process and practice of this chapter, actually. Yes, meditation. Particularly one of the very first forms of techniques of this chapter, in terms of practice, is that we are trying to investigate this common question of who we are, or why am I here, these kind of popular questions. But in short, if we don't put it into a box, of course, it will also present challenges too. Maybe it's not so user-friendly. It's too vast and too. It's like buffet, and so you don't quite know how to start, and so these chapters are sort of a la carte, sort of presentation, and so therefore, yes, it's just there is no right way or wrong way, yes, but nevertheless, I'm not exactly sure if Shantideva himself particularly meant to put it into 10 chapters, All he did was what he was asked to do. Yes. And so they said, say something interesting, say something catchy. And so he accepted, of course, and then he began to say something that they had wished for, the audience had wished for. In Nalanda, of course, in Nalanda University, the site where we can all visit, fortunately. And that's why, probably in some ways, he didn't explain it everything in that kind of orderly fashion about the 6 paramitas and so on and so forth, Instead, it was just guide, as the title says, the translation of the title, guide to the way of Bodhisattva. So it was not really fashioned in a certain way. It's just casual talking, casual interaction, as if it was some sort of a Q&A. So simple interaction. And so that's why, what was it, Karma abiding chapter and so on, and other chapters are not necessarily categorize as for this paramita and that. It's just a natural progression, and simply a guide for those who wishes to become, well, as the title suggests, to become a Bodhisattva, or better the way of the Bodhisattvas. And it's like talking about weather, in a way. Weather, one could say, It is a cycle, isn't it? It is sort of like a wheel, For example, if you are thinking about the stream of a river, one could say, and we're just talking about how it functions, how this element comes into being. And we can just sort of roughly pick up from one point of that circle, I don't know which way to put it. So one could say something like maybe, like in the Mahamudra prayers, we can pick up, instead of picking up on the origin of a fountain, in Tibetan known as chunik, meaning the eye of, anyway, the water source that comes through some sort of, either through some form of spring or something. Instead of picking up on that, there are various ways to pick up on that. And so the third Karmapa uses the melting of the ice, which he puts it in a very poetic way, of course. And then so on and so on, it becomes into a river and then enters the ocean and so on. Yes. And similarly, if you have a very scientific mind, we can again pick up from another, pattern. Yes. Same thing. And so in here, it's like picking up on a certain stream, and trying to investigate from what we can see now, So therefore, each of these, what we would call teachers, of course, or in a respectful term, masters, or in general term, practitioners, in terms of the way they convey, may seem to have great differences and so on. But the truth is, it's not because they're trying to be different, or in fact, there are different truths and so on. No, it's just they are very practical. So practical that they're able to pick up on whatever is there in that moment. Maybe for the third Karmapa, he happened to look at the mountain capes, of the Himalayas, and thought, that's it. It's that simple, And so similarly, for in here, when we are talking about the Samten, all this derived from me trying to say something clever about about this chapter, and so therefore now I'm trying to connect, trying to sound very professional, but at the behind the scene, there's a lot of panic going on. So, but this professional facade is for your benefit. So, yes, it's like trying to examine blood pressure, let's say, for example. It's going everywhere, you know. Maybe this is the Himalaya, I don't know. And then you have the ocean everywhere, you know, and rivers and so on, the arteries. And so, therefore, you cannot, you know, box one. It's impossible. Yes. You really cannot. Yeah. We can try. I mean, general health checkup, yes, means at the end of the day, taking certain part of or certain portion of one's blood into a vial and then trying to mimic how that thing, you know, that the best name, how it more or less runs in this very strange universe, you know, called the body. And then accordingly, we can maybe determine what kind of symptoms we have, if you have high blood pressure or low blood pressure, and so on. Yes, or if you have any kind of abnormal or strange activities. So it's kind of similar, you know. We have put, who really put it into 10 chapters, we really don't know, yeah, this particular literature. But of course, for our benefit, we have the great, I don't know, scholars must have put them together in such a manner, and therefore we are seeing it in this way. And that's why we will almost feel like as if sometimes there's a lot of repetition, you know. Certain stanza comes up and you feel like that was there on the first chapter. And now if you go back to the first chapter, you feel like that was there in the 9th or 8th or somewhere else, you know. It's not repetition, you know. It's just you can't help it, because if you are trying to say something comprehensive, obviously if you use the conveyance of language or concept, then we have no choice but to feel that as if there is some sort of a repetition. You know? Repetition in this case meaning, for example, we are supposed to be talking about now the most innermost aspect of the practice, yet it goes back to basic human psychology or something, you know, and that is kind of quite appropriate to be there in the first few chapters, one could say. Yeah. So therefore, these are things I think that has been helpful for me to understand that it's not going backwards or anything. It's just being very grounded and being very personal or human, one could say. That it kind of works that way. Yeah? If you go too far into the metaphysical things or aspects of things, then yes, I mean, we can look at a certain abstract aspect of painting or sculpture or something, and we will, you know, when we're in that zone, we can say, oh, of course, it's this or that, you know. But suddenly, out of nowhere, if you look at that very same piece, it means it's just childish. It's meaningless. So,
嗯
Now, yes, I don't know how I covered the part of boxing, but yes. So, something jhana, dhyana, it's is the aspect of the stream that we are kind of focusing on, that pattern of what we would say this, or universe, or mind, or consciousness, or self, or even, or citta, or anything, Maybe we are trying to understand the samsaric perspective, or maybe the nirvanic aspect, perspective. Either way, we have arrived on this certain level of zooming or pattern. So now, yesterday we ended the session around which verse? Do you remember? 7. Okay. Yes. Okay. There was. Okay. So then I will read a bit here in Tibetan, starting from the 8th. Tela sembam bache ki tsende to menda wo tabo me penza ji yongdong chujan ji bonjur jidang ka banyam juna ngebang nyandon do de kamanyam bat jina jibaten be chichija keji chikin zanjula yozum jina dayan de pewenen lan thanje bo sosu ji wongo worka pembram henan troje lajam penlen do bojen tedang ngana manyin trowe nyandon do thola thado nyamdan menlang nganjo tene de menenjun kondu ke namchi chile pembalo jidang dona jibala dadojen name bo khor gebe dona mege jijangi banjung 대더러 너다진 된바 지는 봉원적으로 디찬 너도 맞아 나한테 도 먼저 지리 다른 쪽 전환 거wen 거지 되는 돈 주고 민주로와 담아 빠졌네 보죠 보내면 또 다들 추주든 숨는 달랑 혼체만도 좀 집안에 번내 버렸죠 다는 녀몽고듯이 달랑 몽보 거고시 된데 해본서 좀 쉬어거든지 보죠 대변 넘버 뭐에 강당 강한 저쪽 대단테 돈 돈도 동안 같은 규지든 대변 개배 참은 잡벌에는 집어지 너다 랑진 돈지 템퍼처더라도 또 예받는 말로 좀 차단님 받은 예단 잡은 소리데 강동 동배 돌면도 So yes, I read till the 20th verse in Tibetan. Because of thinking of that person, life ever so swiftly passes in vain. Due to the transient entity, the eternal Dharma is lost. One who acts in the same manner as foolish, people definitely goes to a miserable state of existence. They do not like someone who is different. What is gained from association with fools? One moment they are friends, and in the next moment they are enemies. On an occasion for being pleased, they become angry. Ordinary people are difficult to gratify. When given good advice, they become angry, and they turn me away from good advice. If they are not listened to, they become angry and go to a miserable state of existence. They feel envy towards a superior, competitiveness with a peer, arrogance towards one who is inferior, conceit due to praise, and argue due to reproach. When could there be any benefit from a fool? Between one fool and another, something non-virtuous is inevitable, such as glorification of one's own self, speaking ill of others, and conversation about the pleasures of the cycle of existence. Thus, on an account of one's association with someone else, one encounters adversity. I shall happily live alone with a non-afflicted mind. One should flee far from a fool. One should gratify the encountered person with pleasantries, not with the intention of intimacy, but in the manner of a kind and impartial person. Taking only what benefits Dharma, like a bee taking nectar from a flower, I shall live everywhere without acquaintance, as if I had not existed before. A mortal who thinks, I am rich and respected, and many like me, experiences fear of approaching death. Whether or wherever the mind, infatuated by pleasures, finds enjoyment, and there a thousandfold of suffering arises and falls to one's own share. Hence, the wise should not desire it. Fear arises from desire, yet it passes away by itself. Generate fortitude and look at it with indifference. Many have become wealthy and many have become famous, but no one where they have gone with their wealth and fame. My thoughts are all for them, and thus my life is frittered by. My family and friends all change and pass, for whom the changeless Dharma is cast out. For if I act like childish beings, sure it is that I shall fall to evil destinies. So why do I keep companies with infants who lead me to a state so far from virtue? Yes, I would really recommend for all of you to memorize the Tibetan text, even though you will not understand for some time. Like I said, these translations are, of course, in great effort, and we really have to appreciate that such thing exists, after such a short time. But nevertheless, it's also a part of Bodhisattva's practice to preserve, not for the sake of the Buddha Dharma, but for the sake of sentient beings, to preserve these teachings or dharmas. And so therefore, like I said earlier, part of the memorization is, or I would say now, is also a part of a Bodhisattva's practice to preserve for the benefit of others. So you may not understand the memorization of foreign intricate series of punctuations and noises, But nevertheless, it can one day become useful for oneself or somebody else. You never know. I don't think there are many of the original transcripts, one could say, of, for example, like that of Shantideva's teachings. living in the original language, in Sanskrit or other ancient Indian languages. And the only thing we have right now, which are trustworthy, authentic, mainly because of countless of practitioners, countless of translators who have utilized these literatures, and and it's not just during one lifetime, of course, but over centuries, And so therefore, these things these Tibetan versions that we have are very reliable. And so therefore, it is safe for us to memorize them if we like, should we wish. I'm not saying you have to. But you never know, it could help you. For example, for someone like me who don't know much, even just because I have memorized the root text and maybe I know a few parts here and there, because of it now when I read the English translations, I know what these translations are referring to, So fools or infants or children in this context are often, as I said yesterday, referred to those who are not able to really differentiate what is useful to gain liberation, what is useful to embrace for the benefit of, for the sake of liberation, or in this case, in order to become a Bodhisattva, what is good to embrace and what is good to let go. So they are then, or that state of mind is then referred to as fools or children or infants. And so then, of course, now it just basically talks about, for quite a number of verses, the faults, one could say, the faults of either the faults or how to go about, because all of us may be on the same boat, we don't really know what is good to embrace and what is good to let go. And so it's possible for us to feel that it's kind of referring, these passages are referring for us to seek solitude, which is not wrong, of course, but not necessarily physical, solitude. If you can, it's something, but first things first, it's the attitude that we have to refine or take care of, So already from the first point, from the very first, if we have taken care of the mindset, the motivation, and if we are more aware of that, then if we should come across even favorable circumstances for us to seek really literal solitude, then we will know what to do with that time and not feel lost, and even to a point where we feel like we want to go back, to busyness. So the attitude development is then explained in these ways by saying underdeveloped attitude. So we can, of course, immerse ourselves just like ourselves to mingle in all forms of activities and thoughts and busyness, basically. No worries, Let's say we're not talking about something, we're not talking about jhana. We can, from a very basic human point of view, we can busy ourselves with all sorts of things because, if you don't busy ourselves, then maybe all sorts of strange thoughts occur, So there is every reason, of course, for us to get busy, not be lazy, to do something, not stay idle. But now in this case, we are trying to examine the aspect of what is to embrace, what is to abandon. Yes, if now we bring in the idea of something. So therefore, in order to become a Bodhisattva, then from these busyness, are there some things we can embrace, and are there things that we have to let go? And so therefore, to me, I like this verse. Yeah, I think it's the 15th verse. It's where they use the analogy of, where he uses the analogy of like being like a bee, picking what is necessary, and then and phasing out, sort of thing. Yeah. So, because of course we cannot socially, it's not really healthy, or is considered not healthy, or something like that, to remove oneself from the society, of course, and to become an introvert or something. And so, from a Bodhisattva's point of view, then already try to investigate and think and analyze and see when we say interact, mingle, be sociable, be reachable, be busy, do something, often, what are we busying ourselves with? And so this is what I think Shantideva is trying to refer to. And this is, I think, this is sort of timeless, because in every era it's the same thing. So of course then he talks about what we would often know or often hear in the form of the eight worldly dharmas and so on, that it's constantly about either, well, he simplifies them into two things. One is talking about something you like, and the other is to engage in interactions where it is involving something you don't like, you know. And so therefore, like, so that's why yesterday I said something about desire, you know, or attachment. So in this case, something that one likes. So then you go in terms of liking. If you view it from that perspective, then it's often very simply related to well, he has stated here, fame, well, you know, the power, fortune, fame thing. So it's just mostly, it's about that, you know. Of course, one shouldn't demonize them in any way, of course, such interactions, and therefore demean or put down other fellows because they are used to that kind of interaction, and that's all they know, you know. For many who are socially fit, healthy, not heavily intoxicated by either substances or, you know, socially destructive habits, they may be just interacting with the things that they know, you know, talking, and the first thing, well, those days it used to be the newspaper, now it's the digital format. And so therefore from early morning until one is asleep, the only thing that one can interact themselves with are none other than good things about others, good things about oneself, and the opposite, you know. And that's about it. And that's the only thing, that's the only sort of caffeine in order to continue to do something, continue to socialize. And like, yeah, well, I'm not saying it's the same, obviously it's not, but maybe the only a few productive things like the bee, you know, picking up, maybe, just maybe, coming here and there and have some creative ideas coming out, and then maybe doing something, well, worthwhile maybe. Yes. But otherwise it's constantly about me or my friends or me and mine having some form of, or having some form of gaining some form of power, fortune, and fame, even if it's the smallest, you know, and that makes our day. Or the other case, which is stated here, is the opposite. Those whom I don't consider as me and mine, that if they should have, I don't know, slipped on a banana skin or something, nothing lethal, of course, but rejoice, you know. And again, that's the caffeine of the day, sort of thing. And was it really productive? We really cannot say. But if you examine it from that perspective, if you simplify it like that, then whether it's productive or not, I think we will at least be able to see is it the same thing, we are stuck in the same rhythm over and over again. And as we would all like to move forward, maybe it's not really, those interactions are maybe not so forward, you know. So, and now for that sake, you know, for the sake of improving me and mine, then instead of focusing on whom I consider as strangers and enemies and so on, let's focus on me and mine, you know. In order to accomplish for me and, you know, for me and mine, then we can start from something so simple as gaining a little smile from others, you know, from mine. You know. It can be a slight humor, slight pun, anything, you know. And for the fact that either I don't receive it or it's not received for mine, then you know, in that spot, or after hundreds of repetitions, maybe it really doesn't bother us, you know. But nevertheless, since that's the only thing we are so used to, and we cannot really think beyond that box, then it's possible that it's kind of accumulating, you know, piling up more and more to a point where one has reached the breaking point, sort of thing. Yeah. And then one is probably bound to do something about it. Yeah. And of course, one could think that one could justify that I did something about it, I said something about it for something so small. You know, it's not asking for you know, an eye for an eye or something, but something small. And so therefore it's, you know, easily justified, but nevertheless now the ripple effect is such, yes, then it leads to all sorts of things. So therefore attachment may be something so small, yet it can have the most devastating effect. And now, of course, if things are long-lasting, maybe now we are quite used to the idea of nothing is really permanent, you know, but at least long-lasting. Maybe for the next 30 years, 40 years, for a few generations or something, then yes, of course, probably it's worth fighting for. But no, if the more we think about it, it's possible for us to come to the realization that it's actually not lasting at all. And that, as it is stated on the 9th verse, that it's all transient, it's all momentary. The very individuals we thought as friends, in an instant they can become enemies. And what should, you know, what action should bring joy? No. Actually, it's kind of surprising that it didn't bring joy, it didn't bring happiness, to a point where one is so puzzled after so many encounters that one thinks maybe I should just do the opposite. And obviously that's not going to do the trick. So overall, sentient beings, or not really sentient beings, you know, boxing them, but if our mind is in that state of not knowing what is beneficial to embrace, to embrace, and then to let go, in Tibetan known as lang tor. As long as we are in that state, however many there are of us are here or there, as long as we are in that mental state, then it's impossible to please ourselves, please myself, please others. And instead, then it's kind of explanatory by saying that even though you meant to say something nice, the return is that of frustration, anger, and so on. And not only that, you yourself are disturbed by that effect, that one really begins to doubt oneself if one really did the right thing or not. And we are supposed to lend our ears to them, be their friends, be their confidant, and so therefore we are supposed to listen to them, listen to their advice, listen to their guide, and so on. And now, of course, since they are not literate enough or in this field of embracing the proper things and discarding or letting go of what is not proper, since that is their case, then obviously at some point we will not be able to really put into practice of what they advise. And then once again spells disaster, and then that has a sort of a chain reaction of then retaliating to that, first within ourselves, of self-doubt and all sorts of things, and then maybe then as an aftermath then have a breakage of bonds, connections with our dear friends. And where does that lead to? And obviously, it could go anywhere. It's possible that it could lead to great destructions. And, I don't know, committing to, physical harming of oneself and others, and so on. And, it could even escalate into feuds, social disorder, then so on and so forth on larger scales, and eventually lead to none other than taking a long break in the lower realms. Because one is tired, of course. Yes. So tired that one doesn't want anything to do with this, And so therefore at the moment of one thinks anywhere but not here, And then all the karmic conditions are gathered, and then one is born in an animal or some form of so-called lower realm. It's not really lower, it's just that wheel, from a two-dimensional point of view, it looks like there is up and down. It's a different state, that's it. It's a different universe where once there, again, most likely we are not happy there again. Just like how we feel now. We are here, and for the fact that we are here is because we made a certain wish in the so-called at the end of our former life. And so our wish came true, but we are once again not happy. So similarly, we are born in another realm where we don't really have to communicate. We should be happy there, but once again we are not happy, So then within this sort of social, of course, these are how Shantideva would have put together the Bodhicaryavatara for animals, we don't know. But this is designed for humans, So within the human structure, then yes, and like the 11th verse, it says that it is so strange that if we see someone a little bit taller than us, then immediately that curiosity is there, instead of saying jealousy, because maybe that is too blunt a word, but at least we are wondering what is the air like up there, what is the weather like up there, So curiosity after curiosity then kills the cat, was it? And then those who share the same atmosphere and altitude, what does it say? As competition comes. And then for those who are on the lower altitude, then we feel that I serve the best air or something, and therefore feel, of course, and then similarly, in terms of hearing, yes, hearing, because we are the only realm where we interact with speech predominantly, and so therefore, or we depend on that heavily, and so therefore now we are so we specialize in, so therefore we can detect the smallest of things. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So we can detect those simple things, and again create various emotions. And so therefore, at the end of the day, we will never ever be happy. So therefore, well, I'm changing the order of the analogy, but nevertheless, in short, it's saying that as long as we're in this sort of state, as long as we relate, let's say that now I have somehow found out or had some I heard some rumors, let's say. I happen to be the one who heard rumors that we are all in this dream state of being fools, And so therefore now, in order for me to further investigate, it's only logical that I don't go back. Yes? And so therefore, from that context, then is to say, basically, keep the right distance, which I often used to say, or which I thought I understood, keep the right distance in a way. So because obviously we cannot completely cut off, of course. We can, but maybe we are not yet ready to cut off also. If we drastically try to do that, it will not serve anything, and instead the society at some point, or we will land up in a point where, at a point where the society will tell us, I told you so. So instead, the smartest way is to already mentally prepare that I think this is the case, that I interact, of course now going further down the verse basically says that we have no choice but to interact, but mentally already prepare ourselves so that we don't get too close. Ndichen, Njipa Chembo. So Njipa means like really get personal, So as long as we are not too close, and so therefore I think, was it Einstein or someone who said the earth is in its perfect position, yes, where there is life. Not too close to the sun, or too far from the sun, and therefore there is life. And so it's not cutting off type of thing. Yet at the same time, it's not about becoming too close, that one will get burned, or one burns the other. And so, from that point of view, then it makes sense to keep the right distance. And but of course, Shantideva goes into the detail of how to be that also, how to do that also, which is to say good morning, hi, hello, how are you, all that, but not go too further, meaning, I think we all kind of understand on a psychic level, I suppose, that when we say make friends, we don't really know what it means, of course, but we kind of think, just without much analysis, that it means become completely open, I'm an open book sort of attitude. And that is being, Tibetans would have a different take because they are probably more of a closed book in many ways. Yes. So it's an extreme, I think. Yeah. It's just being pleasant enough, being there enough, but beyond that, if you interact furthermore, it's just, it's like maybe a cube of sugar is good, for that one cup of tea. Yeah. And maybe it's just pleasant enough. Yeah. But if you are trying to capture that very experience once more, maybe we'll be lucky, we'll get it again. But most likely it's not. Yeah. And so in order to capture that, we will need to put more cubes of sugar, more. And of course, we know what happens on a physical level if you upkeep that practice. Yes? Then on a mental level, it's the same thing. Because, why? Because it's a completely different situation or circumstance. Because maybe the very day I had that particular cup of tea, maybe my sinus was a little bit more clear, maybe. Or maybe I had a long gap, or I don't know, countless of other reasons, And now can we mimic that same situation over and over again? Once in a blue moon, I think. Yeah. But beyond that, we can try our very best by being very pre-planned, organized, be healthy enough to have good health and good palate, to detox so that one can enjoy that one particular cup of tea, but most likely not. Yeah. It rarely repeats. And so therefore there is no real point, from that point of view, that there is no real point in trying to make that happen. In this case, in the form of trying to please the others, in order to gain face value, or in order to save face, all those things, So that's what I'm saying. Desire, attachment, all that it is said here, but it's stating obviously the obvious aspect of attachment and so on. Like the story of Helen of Troy that led to war or something like that, kind of epic. But it's the simple things, small things, It's the small interactions which is called, being sociable or something. And so now it's possible, of course, even though it's not satisfying or not, well, probably a better word is not beneficial, with this kind of interaction. Nevertheless, it's if as long as we are able to now maintain this attitude, then it is possible that we may pick up a few, drop of honey or gold or something precious, something that is liberating. That's always possible. So, if that's the case, then yes, we may approach and try to pick that up. But overall, to keep that right distance. That doesn't mean that one lacks appreciation or friendship to one another at all. In fact, it is, I think, keeping the relationship healthier in a way. The more I think of this, then the more comes to my mind the way Master Milarepa lived the way he did, So I'm sure many of you would remember that he didn't stay too long in one particular village or neighborhood or a mountain or a hill. And so therefore, often everybody thought, oh, that crazy man, that poor fellow passed away in that snowstorm, or something like that. But he didn't. But then, already from the beginning, he didn't interact with the villagers or the neighborhood too deep, so that now they will have no choice but to mourn for him, and to do such things. He made himself scarce enough that he's very forgettable, Or that, and that's it. Yes. And in a way, I think it was the same case for all that kind of what we would say yogi or shramana, that they never dwell in one place for too long. In the beginning in Tibet, most of the great practitioners were like that. Only a few who had just no choice but to remain there in order to, propagate the Dharma in a manner that is according to the changes of time for those particular reasons, then, someone like Shivatso in Shantarakshita, right? Shantarakshita or Atisha or, such bodhisattvas, then they had to maintain there and be visible and almost hold the fort sort of thing. Yes. But given the choice, I don't think that would be the case. They were more than happy to just, be there if it's really, really necessary. But then the necessity or the benefit for the beings is very momentary. Yes. Maybe all that society wanted was just a good laughter for that moment, yeah. Or to surprise them in a certain way or something. Or the traditional things to meditate and receive some teachings and so on. But furthermore, it's kind of logical that it's not going to help any further. Instead, they will feel a sense of belonging, home, and eventually it becomes institutionalized. Yes. And first, without knowing, we turn it into an institution. And once the institution has manifested, we are not happy, So we are very hard to please, in short. Yes. So therefore, those beings, they just come and go. Before you know it, they make themselves, as I said, so scarce that they are very forgettable. Not too charming, yet at the same time not too repulsive or something like that, but just enough, a perfect stranger almost. And like that, I think it was the case with Milarepa, or with Shakyamuni Buddha also. Of course, he had to live a very unique life, but nevertheless, he was more or less the same. He never really stayed in one place for too long also. He was always traveling. And yes. Yes, so was all that clear? Or if you have some doubts, you can ask some one or two questions if you like.
Tashidele, Your Holiness.
Yes.
Many Tukjiche.
Okay. On live.
So we talked a lot about the wheel of life and rebirth, and what are we taking from this life to the next? Like the wealth, the power and fame is not transferred to the next life. But what happens in rebirth? I heard that if one has connection to you, Your Holiness, then somehow in the moment of death we can be guided by you to a better rebirth. Is this true?
Yes. Yeah, we would like to think that way. I don't know. Purpose of wearing hats, when there is no sun or rain or something like that. Or for the fact that we look up the moment we think of something a little bit related to spirituality or something. Yes. or when we try to think, or the moment we remember something about what our late elders, like parents or someone, or a dear friend or something, then there's this habit of just either eyeballing upwards or looking up, pointing up. Yes, I think those are very interesting traits that we have. But I've been thinking a lot about that too. And I thought, it's not complete superstition. We cannot completely sort of put down the theory that I thought my grandfather or mother was almost an angel, so therefore he or she must be up there, and see that as some form of superstition, and then try to brush those ideas aside. Because I thought, wow, actually that's very intelligent, not intelligent, but that's what is it called, super, or that's natural, yeah. Because if this universe is real, then likewise there are just like this universe, countless out there, yeah. So we're not really pointing up, actually. We could be below the equator and we can be doing this, and we think that we are pointing upwards, but actually we are pointing maybe to another galaxy, Maybe they are born there, And it's so interesting that somehow, without this sort of specialized intelligence, we kind of know that maybe they are there. So of course we would like to say something, oh, they're watching us from above, but maybe it's from below, or from sideways, or it's just it's just a figure of speech, yes. But somehow, wow, even then, we seem to know things that we don't know how to explain, So it's not necessarily heaven or hell or anything. And yes, so yeah, those are fascinating traits of ours, I think. Yeah. Gods and animals or other beings, I don't know how they go about it. But we tend to do that, yes. So then we would like to think that when I die, I will be with my brothers or sisters, or being guided by them and so on. Yes, not completely wrong in a certain sense. That it's the same path that all the previous ones have gone through. So therefore, it's not wrong to say that. But yeah, it's a powerful emotion, yes, to think that something or someone is there, and I am here. It's unbelievable. And so probably it has something to do with that habit of feeling that as we speak on a regular basis, that we think that I'm here and you're there, then from that perspective, maybe, yes, that's how we would approach it when we theoretically think about death. But when we actually die, none of that is there, We die in so many unimaginable ways, that we have no time to think that I'm here, you are there, and I'll be guided this way and that way. Yeah. Almost no room for preparation at all. It happens so spontaneous. Yeah. But yes, this conditioning is very, very powerful. Yes. And so therefore, I think your question came from that part where I said something about being born in the lower realm because we are too tired of all this. Yes. Yes, that kind of conditioning. Yes, it's like I said, very powerful. And so therefore, before we feel that, oh, this is too much, I'm tired of this, we already try to take care of it. Yeah. So that, first of all, we are already happy where we are, or more or less content. More or less content where one is, and then should one go anywhere, or be, or take rebirth anywhere, it's the same thing. That kind of habit goes on, and then feel that one is quite, everything's kind of okay, I got my feathers. I don't need to think about pajama and an actual shirt, Don't need to think of going to hospitals or anything, Kind of content, yes. So yes, I think probably that's more important, yeah. But when we're really, really emotional, then of course it is nice to be able to have a nice story, to feel that I'm going home, where I belong, and that I will be looked after, or guided, or this or that, And it's not a case where we're trying to sterilize that kind of emotions so that we have a crisp, clean state of mind, of course. As long as we kind of are a little bit aware of, of what is what sort of thing, what is to embrace, what is to let go, then we don't really have to go after those emotions and say, excuse me, we can just let them be, yeah. And on their own, their batteries will run out, and they will just go. And you'll be able to host so many other emotions, and so therefore we don't have to be too melancholy about it also, meaning others' emotions, For once, then one's own emotions have disappeared. The others' emotions, if it's there, they can come, and no worries. You can host them, entertain them. But the point is, the main part is that one kind of knows that they are all transient. And then one may take a certain, enjoy that luxury, one could say. Meaning that such kind of habit is there, yes, that I'm here, you are there, and the rest. And so therefore then experience this feeling that now I'm going to the pure land of Amitabha, and then I'm gaining this merit, that merit, or various other types of Pure Lands, yeah, where either you are invited for the feast or you become the feast. There are other kind of universes also. So you become dinner or you enjoy the dinner together. So it's possible, that they will manifest in these sort of forms. One can take part in that, but at the back of mind, led by the understanding or that quality of renunciation, one doesn't try to cling onto them. And as long as there's no clinging, then it is as good as you have countless of friends. Everyone is there for you, sort of feeling. Whereas from a solid samsaric point of view, one could think that no, they're not. It's just coincidences. That particular fella, I know him. But today, for some reason, you happen to pass by that person and he happened to be in a good mood. And that's why you thought that fellow was your friend or something. Doesn't matter. Because you kind of know that there's no real point to cling at all. And because of that, even if the so-called others are not genuine or something, you kind of either directly or indirectly change their attitude as well because of your easygoingness, And it sort of changes, as they say, their aura or something. And yes, and without meaning or intending to help others, you have helped by not being too close. And in turn, because as being in this sort of human state, we cannot really, maybe, if we have good concentration or good samten, maybe. Otherwise, we cannot maintain a certain level of focus for. We can maybe do it for a certain period of time, but no more. Yes. And so, therefore, for a short period, yes, it's possible. And so, therefore, one can, have good dealings in a way, where it doesn't become too personal. Normally, one thinks, if one becomes personal, then that's the way we will be able to dig into deeper and get something out of it, But we are all like onions, We have no real core. And so therefore, we just interact in the most healthiest way possible. So, yes, coming back to your question, whether I will be there, Sure, yes, I'll be there. Whatever that means, I don't really know what it means to be there in that moment, Many dear friends or people that people that I knew of, or family members have passed away, and one or two even said, "I will see you," holding my hand and saying, "I will see you." And I was just nodding along, yes. But beside that, it really made me think, yes, what it really means. Yes. Most likely it is just a figure of speech. Yeah. But again, this is not a way to jump into another extreme by saying, "Oh, there is no rebirth, there is no karma, and this and that." It's just a figure of speech, and probably that's more worthwhile. So, yeah, let's hope that it will be a pleasant one. Yeah. Yeah. No one knows who will go first, So if I go, will you be there? More questions?
Yes, there's one more. Hello, Karmapa. Immature people, who is it and how understand it? Immature.
Amateur, okay.
Immature.
Yes, amateur people.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah,
Sorry.
who is it and how can I understand it? Yeah.
How to recognize them, yes? Well, I think it is stated quite clear here. I mean, socially speaking, or let's say from everyday circumstances, already we can kind of differentiate I don't know, those who sort of do not waste time, on unnecessary activities in life, yes. So those who wishes to stay healthy on a physical level, mentally healthy, so that they are always trying to do something grounded, maybe being there for their family, friends, and society, and so on. So in that way, already it's easier to single out that kind of individuals, I suppose. Yeah. Then from how to say now, from the point of view of now, for those of us who think that is there more to just being that good or that grounded? That's one way of saying. Another way of putting, actually, how should I put it? If you're interested, if you're intrigued by this idea that that we don't have to think of our world so small, meaning from a everyday realistic point of view, it feels that even though we may be able to obtain a very powerful position, let's say, to become I don't know, a leader of a nation or something, or be as influential as that, I think even if we gain that position, we will kind of know that for certain that one can only do so much. Yes. And so from that position, one probably is doing one's best. Yes. Now, as an individual, maybe living a somewhat regular life, one could say, then it's, how do I say it? Maybe we are not really thinking about whether this world is big or not. If that's the case, it's already great. Yeah? But otherwise, often it is a case where we cannot think beyond our neighborhood, even though we have tremendous goodwill, compassionate thoughts that I wish I could do great, not just within this neighborhood, but more, and so on. And but feel extremely sort of restricted, that this is all that can realistically manage. Should I live for this long? Should I be healthy enough for this period? Till this period, then I can only do so much. And so maybe we feel that this is it, And then, not to say it's bad to have ambition or good to have ambition or something, but then somehow one gives up that dream in a way. Yes. If all that is going to go as one sort of not planned, but as one has accepted goes, it's still good. But the challenge is that now, instantaneously, there are so many things that could change all this, out of nowhere. Yeah. Either oneself or someone has a health issue, or a financial issue, or accident, or this and that challenge, and then suddenly everything goes into chaos. Yes, and so this simple, reachable dream that I have dreamed is suddenly all transformed. Yes. And so one may again try to regroup after much challenge, and then try to again go back to that state, and then manage it. Maybe if you read some neighbor's biography, maybe there are such stories, that a couple lived happily ever after, or a family lived really well, really healthy, and so on. Maybe we can read about their biographies and so on. But not, every situation is completely different, yes. And so therefore, even though such literature may seem a little bit harsh in a way, but nevertheless, it's 100%, more than 100% completely genuine in terms of, in this case, the author Shantideva is saying that there is zero guarantee, and it almost feels like in these particular passages, he feels like saying you cannot trust anyone. Yes, it almost feels that way, and so therefore, don't trust anyone, cut off all your connections. Stay off the grid, whatnot, no. At the same time, he's being very practical also, by saying that the sooner we are able to understand this, be aware of it, and then hopefully, if we are able to accept it, actually we can develop very healthy relationships with everyone, with all our neighborhood, because we are like a camper, We are not really, sedentary, isn't it? Stationary. Actually, we are like a camper, We migrate all the time, actually. Yeah. We may be carrying a certain nationality or identity or something, but we are constantly on the move, even on a physical level. And so therefore the circle of friends keeps changing and changing. Some years ago I said something about there's no more than 30 people or something that we, and that circle keeps changing or something. That I don't know. I don't know what I was really saying, but I still, in some way, stand by that because it keeps changing, because someone will pass away, someone will disappear, someone will not want to communicate. And it's so strange that they will get replaced, And just like any position gets replaced, even celestial beings like Indras and Brahmas and so on, even they get replaced, And the king of the lower realms, even they get replaced. But because the position looks very similar, we have this feeling that as if they are eternal, And so, the sooner we are able to realize that we are just campers, we are just constantly moving here, moving there, it only makes sense that we don't want to become a burden on others, If we say, oh, I completely trust you and you are it, I want to spend the rest of my life as I don't know, as your doctor or as your cook or psychiatrist or your lawyer, your partner or this and that. It doesn't work out that way, yes. And so, instead, the sooner you are able to accept that all of this is transient, then the more relaxed you are, and physically then you can move around, and physically should you disappear also, no worries, Yeah, you don't have to think about the end of the world type of worry, and that because you know that you are going at one day, or any day, or at any moment. But then those worries can disrupt your going, and make the going worse. Well, not worse, but bad. Yes. Because the going part is nothing bad, but that worry makes it bad. Because then you are worried that, oh, if I go, then how about my friend? How about my pet hamster? Will my second pet, the rattlesnake, accidentally eat the hamster? Or I don't know, And yeah, and so therefore, it's not saying don't have pets or don't have friends. You can, yes. But you're not really overlapping and interrupting anything, and therefore it's one could say healthy or good or easy, but all of those words are not going to do justice. Yes. Probably peaceful, probably. So now from that point of view, then we can kind of differentiate what Shantideva was trying to say when he says amateurs. Because I think first recognition is oneself, yeah. And if one can recognize exactly or more or less where I am, yes, then it's very easy to spot the others, yeah. And then accordingly deal with it. It's like saying if I'm an alcoholic, if I can recognize that, then I will not try to hang around with alcoholics for too long, you know. Instead, I would be courteous, do whatever I can, and pick up what I can from them in terms of, who knows, maybe someone is coping quite well or coming out of it or something, yes. But not stay too long together because you will drag each other down, you know. So like that. Yeah. Reer. Kom de reer. Ah. Out of respect, he doesn't say yes or no, so I have to guess. 5:50. Ah. Okay. Yes. One more. Yes. Yes.
Dear Karmapa, I don't want to put more responsibilities on you, but I have the feeling that during the initiation you said that it's 50-50, like that our enlightenment is connected with you. So how is it? Why it's like this? And how is it really working? And how we could prepare and how to recognize if you making your science like in your head, or is it really like you helping us to recognize something?
Is it all a chance or something? Or is it, or will we really be able to be awakened or something like that? Is it
Yes.
the question? Along that line?
Yeah, and how is this interaction between student and the teacher?
Yes. Okay. No, I guess for the sake of inspiration, one probably is forced to say that it works. You know, yeah, that someone can help another. In short, that there is help and can be helped, and so on. Yeah. So it's probably not really wrong to say that. Yeah. But then what happens after saying that is that we will sort of like to lean more on the help, more, that will become, to a point where we become quite dependent, let's say, on that so-called others' help. And then just not try to learn to walk, you know. So, therefore, it seems important that we have to in terms of preparation, I would say, in terms of preparation, that we try to understand that there are others, or however many there are, or whoever they may be, we don't quite know them, of course, intimately, and probably there's no way of knowing them intimately also. Because the more we try to peel that onion, we will not gain anything actually. Yeah. So we may try to do the same thing with the Guru, same onion. But from within our range, that's what I said, I think, on the first day, we are intelligent enough to know more or less if something or someone is genuine, and unless we are really heavily hallucinating or brainwashed or something, yes. Otherwise, we can pretty much detect if someone is genuine enough. Yeah. We will not be able to really, once again, to say, go to the absolute and say, this is it. That's also not really possible. We would like to, but it's not really possible. Yeah. And so therefore, kind of appreciate that, okay, at least someone is there, And so that someone can be, particularly in this case of a spiritual guide, then yes, they are, at least the figure is there. Yeah? And according to however much of a merit there is, then we can probably interact and take out some honey, yes, some gold, some precious gems out of it. And but at the same time, again, keep a really good distance, so that then one doesn't spoil it, yes. So, for example, let's say we can have a very beautiful painting, and from within that range, it's perfect. Yeah. Maybe it's designed to be viewed from a certain meter. Maybe some you have to be a little bit close, but some are meant to be viewed from distance. But that's it. Yes. If you go beyond any of those range, you will spoil it. And so, in that sense, yes, you can appreciate, and to a point where it almost feels like it's helping me, it's making me improve myself, my personality, my character, my this, my that. Dog's tooth story. Oh yes, same thing. Yeah. So from that perspective, I think it's possible. But I'm just saying this from a point of view that my generation of so-called teachers, I'm sure they are gems and Bodhisattva, precious gem like Bodhisattvas, real Bodhisattvas. I'm sure they are always there, yes. But otherwise, from this era onwards, it sort of becomes just the appearance, I think, of a teacher or something. Yeah. And it's and probably it's best to leave it at that, yes, and not zoom in too further, because it's not like the previous generations. Yeah. Old is gold. There will be no one like them. Yes. So starting from the 16 Karmapas era, let's say, and his successors from there, it kind of transits into something more of a figure. Yeah. But we have to be appreciative of that figure, and if we are appreciative enough, they may just speak to us, as if the whole volume and compendium of Dharma is being transmitted and so on and so forth. Yeah. And so, yes, that's the feeling, honest take that I would share. But beside that, on a very general, now with putting that subject aside, there is no harm. Yes, there is no harm in thinking that others can help, but from a level-headed, clear mind, one has to know that the other percentage, whether I call it 50-50 or 49-51, whichever way, one has to do one's own part also. Yeah. Only then the other can help, and only in this way then we can, gain anything. Yeah. So therefore, I think, this is the simplest thing I can say. That we both have to do our part. It's strange to put it in a form of, parent and children context, We're in this sort of mood where we're trying to think we're all equal, like almost same, from the same badge or something like that. But just to talk about the same badge or same group or something like that, because we are in this human condition, we cannot do away with this idea of parents. So that's something we cannot brush it aside. So we have to consider that. But then, of course, a healthy relationship between parents and children is that the parents also give enough space, I suppose, ideally, yes, enough space, but also not too much space, which is again wrong distance, Yeah. So enough distance or enough space, and then so therefore enough education. And then, same thing from the children's side, I suppose, that they kind of appreciate that as much as they can. And that's it. Ideally, that's the case. Now, is there a guarantee? I don't think so. There's never a guarantee. Anything can take place at any moment. But one thing I would say, which may be inspiring, is that one of my late teachers used to emphasize a lot, that he said, physical improvement and mental improvement are a little bit different, he said, although they are very similar. Physical improvement is that you can reach the optimal, isn't it, point of, strength or agility or flexibility or something, and be at that peak. But the moment you lose the rhythm, it goes slowly back to almost square one. Like you would have, Iron Man, sort of, bodybuilders and so on. But after a year or two of long holiday, then they are, what is it, the term? Melted ice cream. Whereas the mental side, I believe, is quite different. Yes. is that however much you improve, then even if you don't really do much to provide the kind of level of energy to keep on improving, it'll kind of stay there more or less, actually. Yeah. You can leave it dormant for a long, long time, but eventually if you once again try to improve it or do something about it, again it will pick up where you have left. Yeah. So in that sense, yes, it's quite encouraging, I think. Yeah. So therefore, we don't have to think too concretely like, the physical state, that we have to again start from square one. Yeah. No. Yeah. So, yes. So then now we focus on the, something, it is both, when we try to meditate on any of these sadhanas, in this case, Chenrezig, then obviously we are utilizing, or we are meditating, basically. Not in meditation, but meditating. In the coming days, then, of course, we will look more into, of course, how to meditate and so on. It will be there. But nevertheless, there is nothing, as they say, there is nothing like doing or something like that. I don't remember the particular phrase. In terms of learning or trying to understand what meditation is, what practice is, the best thing to get to know is by just practicing or just by simply doing it. And so that's what we're doing with Chenrezig. We shouldn't worry too much about whether there will be a success or not in terms of the practice, or the other way, whether there will be a failure or not. We don't have to worry about that. And at the same time, we shouldn't be concerned about, last year during a certain occasion, or yesterday I had a really good meditation. I wish I would gain that same experience today. That's not really practical and not realistic also, yes, because it keeps changing. Yes, meaning that we can be thankful that we have such memories, or feeling that I had a good meditation yesterday, but that's about it. Yeah. It's completely gone. And today's session is today's session. It's completely new, and there is no guarantee at all of how it will turn out. Not that it will turn out as something at the end or something like that. Actually, yeah. It's just a technique, a very precious technique to just focus on what we would call the present moment. as if there is a thing called present moment, Basically, I think it's something like trying to say, not to think too much, but at the same time we are not trying to underthink or overthink. It's just we try to be, at best, be very well focused on the technique, Maybe that's it, yes. Right now, just be very focused on the technique, starting from the calling or recalling the practitioners who have used this method of Genesis all the way until dedication. We try to be very, very focused on the method. And probably that's all we need. It's like saying it's a distraction from other distractions. And hopefully during that period, then we will not have accumulated any unnecessary karmas. And if we have accumulated any good karmas, great, we dedicate them, but at least we can be satisfied that that period was good, that period was peaceful, and therefore we can call it productive. Maybe we can then call it a good meditation. But otherwise, it's just a name, nothing more. And if you would like to add very interesting names for Genesis, instead of calling it Genesis, then we can do that by saying Mahagenesis meditation or Mahamudra Genesis meditation, or all sorts of names we can add. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. And we're just at the moment trying to be very realistic and to distract ourselves from unnecessary actions. So then towards the end, when we do the dedication, then we can wish all of, or whatever the virtuous things we have accumulated to all sentient beings. Yes. And for that we have, by doing so, it will give us a great sense of peace, not just satisfaction, but having done something worthwhile, grounded, and not brainwashing, not hallucinating, not being completely fascinated, yet at the same time very alert and very aware. Yes. And then you can complement your evening and your tomorrow's morning breaks and afternoon breaks. You can fill those gaps up by conversing on the very literature. I've said it many times in the past, just like how I've heard from my teachers that it's your best friend. You will never, this friend is such a friend that no one will be able to replace this. Nothing will be able to replace this. And the only way to get to know and get personal, is by reading it again and again and again. So then please read. And now we will do the meditation.
de da de la za wa da ye ban de re me ban ja ye la san je ge je sam ye la Done karma pa je wa go da ge ma lo nyur don cho ba na karma pa yen de la no je na ge da wa shen de lo pa ye no ba da nye don zon do zon de da zon don de ben ge wan de man yen zhe wa zim zhe dam zhe guan zo be zan ye gong ban dan zhe mo Wan zan zan ye na wan da ye zan je wan da je chen ban da yun da zan ban da je don na la zan je zhan ze ba me wan ye gong de ye wan zan ba de me ba ye de wan jin shen zhe be shen gan de da zhen de ne zhen ban ye man da ye wan yin ye ba man zhan ba ro de ran ye ne nan de zhan de shon de gen da ge mo la da ban de cho zhe zan yen zhan zhen dan zhen yen ge men da wa xin ye lan do gu de ya da min zan de ya wa bo da na ye so wa zhong de ya wa zi je mo za nian za lan jie ye ra ta gen de zhen ge zan ban guan jie zan lan zhe ba bu ye wen den ban bian yuan jian ge wa zhen jian ge lan o zhe ge san jie dao ji ren jian ge san dan jian jian de ne da gen je lan bian ji ren jian jian nian da nian zan zan de Teren de men yam don ben zen de sa jen no yo je. Nam jen zen ben yam don de wan jen don ye jen je. Jen be man ga jen de le den de la san ye yo. Chanjo to mien je zen dan de ben de wa je ma zo nan de ye tan je se ma nye to ne nyen ben na ban jen de ye ga na jen ba lan zhe ba ye se ben za len zhe wa zhe wa zhen zhan zhe zen ne ren bo je man ye ba nan yen yun je ye
Dear friends,